everyone, I'm Amanda. As some of you may already know me, but if you don't, I'm a third-year electrical and biomedical engineering student in the iBioMed program. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview of what life in iBioMed is like. I'm really sad that we didn't get to have the actual info night, so hopefully this will give you a little bit of extra help to understand what the program is like. Okay, so I chose elect for a few different reasons. I found that the biggest thing in helping me decide was talking to profs and kind of figuring out what it actually meant to do electrical engineering. So one of the profs that I talked to were, I guess two of them were Dr. Noseworthy and Dr. Bruin. And basically I told them like what my key areas of interest were and what I kind of wanted to do in the long run. So I wanted to go into either A, neurology, and stuff to do with the brain, or B, robotic prosthetics. So after talking with the Bruin and Noseworthy, they basically said that electrical engineering gives you the best basis to do either of those because the brain is just one big electrical circuit. And for the prosthetics, obviously you need to know how an electrical signal conducts both in the body and in a normal circuit, so to be able to use both of those to combine them to create a device. So I think the biggest thing for helping me choose the program was determining what I actually wanted to do in the long run. Sadly, I haven't done any co-ops yet. I was supposed to do one going to Germany this summer to do research. However, due to the COVID-19, I'm not able to go anymore. So I'll be looking for co-ops otherwise. In my small interaction with the co-op services, I found that Sam has been really helpful. So if you have any questions about co-ops and stuff with him, I would check in with them. I do know a few people in elect have gone and worked at electrical engineering firms. I know there's a few that have gone and worked, a lot of them work in research, and I believe one of them is even working at Intel this summer. So there's a lot of different areas you can go. It's good for both the biomedical application and also just normal electrical engineering. Okay, so contrary to what many of you guys believe, electrical engineering is not just the furthering of one EO3. You will take courses in especially second year. Second year I would say is probably closest for you guys as to what you would get to EO3. You do have to take electromagnetics. But as I've explained to several people already, the prof is absolutely amazing. He is probably one of the best profs that I have ever had, and they go step by step through, teaching you everything that you need to know. And he also gives out chocolate in class for participating, so that's a nice incentive. But honestly, he's one of the best profs I've ever had. In terms of like your circuit analysis, in second year you will focus a lot more on like Kirchhoff's current laws and voltage laws, which is what you would have done in EO3. But if you didn't understand or grasp it the best in EO3, they do it kind of fast, whereas they take it really slow and make sure that you really have these foundational skills built because you'll use them later on. So in the second semester, you do another circuits course, but it's a lot more, personally, I found it more interesting because the prof that we talked about had more applications to biomedical systems, so I could see kind of where I could apply this. In third year, you take a lot more interesting courses, I personally found. So you do still do circuit courses, but you start to move away from just resistors, capacitors, and inductors and those kind of things, and you move towards digital circuits and digital logic and programming. So you do a lot of different circuit analysis using AND or NOR gates, which basically may not mean anything to you, but it's basically like, think of mini switches turning on and off stuff and how you can get all of this stuff to work super fast. But you do a lot of cool things where it's like state machine stuff. So think of a toothbrush. There's different states that a motor can be in. For example, a motor can be off, it could be on the first speed, it could be on a second speed, or it could be on a third speed, and then it could be off again. So basically what you learn is how to program it so that when you click or certain inputs occur, what will actually happen. Or even like a code block or something. For example, if you put in a certain sequence and you put the wrong number, it has to restart. So learning how to program that kind of stuff. So in moving away from the analog circuits to digital circuits. So I personally really like that kind of stuff because I find it more applicable. And that's kind of where you get to really see more of the applicable stuff. So you learn more about microcontrollers. We have a course right now called DX4, 2DX4, and it's all taking the C language you would have learned in second year and applying it to a microcontroller. So it's very similar to what you would have done in DP3, except for it's not necessarily as broad, and it's more at the bit level. So it's a little more complicated than what you would have done in DP3, but if you really like DP3, then those are some of the kind of similar things that you're getting towards doing when you do electrical engineering. So I think, like I said before, one of the biggest things is to kind of figure out what you want to do in the long run and kind of figure out what your interests are. So for example, like I said, I was really interested in neuroscience and also in prosthetics, but I was interested in the neuroscience about like the electrical signals of the brain and how that works. And after talking to some of the profs, I kind of discovered that the two, electrical engineering and like neuroscience, they aren't necessarily that far apart, because the brain is basically like the hardware and the hard drive of your computer, right? So it's very, it's almost analogous to each other. So I think figuring out what you want to do in the long run, or what your interests are in general, will help make it easier. I also think talking to upper years and profs, obviously it's a bit harder now because of the virus, but I think even just reaching out to any of the upper years that you know, or even just reaching out to me or anyone, like I said, any of the upper years, we can help find somebody that is in the program that you're interested, so you can figure out what is best for you, because nobody knows what it's going to be like going into your program better than somebody that's in it now. So I think talking to upper years is probably one of the best strategies I would give you in terms of figuring out what is best for you. And then just, again, talking to profs and figuring out what you want to do. Also looking at the course outline and the course calendar. If you see like courses there that are absolutely horrendous and you don't want to take them, then that might mean that you're gonna have a really hard time in that program, because doing things you absolutely hate just makes it more unbearable. I would say if it's only one or two courses, I would probably say then the overall majority you are okay with, then I would still potentially look into it, because one or two courses is potentially 1 or 2 semesters, and as long as you like the other courses, then you shouldn't have too many problems. So it's just getting through those two that might be more difficult, but you never know until you actually start doing them. So my biggest 3 tips would be to 1, talk to profs and upper years, 2, check the course calendar, and 3, and finalist, the biggest one is figure out what you kind of have a general idea of what you want to do in the end. That will help at least start narrowing down some of your considerations.